That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a f***ing toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the OneCast. You can see Pete is wearing his shades, his Hobies. Ben is in the OneCast Fishing Cave with all those snagless jigs, weedless Neds, soft plastics, and everything that we're going to talk about here in just a second. We're back from the Bassmaster Classic 2026. What was it? The 58th?
56.
Bassmaster 56. Oh, 56. 56 Bassmaster Classic. And we're going to talk about some pretty cool and unique experience. But before we do that, we talked about Ben being in the OneCast Fishing Cave. We just got back from the Classic. Thank you all so much for the support, swinging by the booth and picking up all those things that we love to tell you about. So if you didn't make it to the Classic, head on over to onecastfishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word at checkout, and get your hands on all those things that we love to talk about: the snagless jigs, the weedless Neds, the soft plastics, the long neck hooks, all of those, all the apparel that's on the website, and save some money. Get your hands on the Javelin, because as Ben talked about earlier, that is going to be a discontinued soft plastic. So he's only got limited stock. So make sure you head on over there and get all those Javelin soft plastics. While you're online, head on over and see our friends at CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use that same code, the OneCast, all one word, at checkout to get all that UPF gear. Also, before your next fishing trip, download the Deep Dive app. Deep Dive's got a really cool feature, satellite imagery, that they just put on their app. So you can download that app. You can do a 7-day free trial, or you can just do what we do and pay for that year-long annual subscription. It shows you all data on that body of water that you're going to fish. You're going to catch a lot more fish. It's going to give you good starting points. It's going to help you hone in on largemouth, smallmouth, and spotted bass. Use that link that we always provide you to, which is going to take you to Hobie Eyewear. And you're gonna use that link. It's gonna save you 15% on your order. And they got new frames out right now. I think Pete had one held up, maybe not, but if not, check out the new whole float frame. We love the floating series. All those sunglasses, never gonna lose another pair again unless you get ejected out of a boat on Lake Murray like Pete did, maybe in that event. Good luck finding them, but they float to the surface of the water. That's why we love them so much. Make sure you check out those Sightmaster Plus lenses, because bed fishing is slowly coming without these cold fronts. Finally, if you're going to move to the central North Carolina area, you're going to want a house and land and all that good stuff. Our good friend Terry Carpenter, licensed real estate agent with Howard Perry Walson and Caldwell Banker, is going to get you settled. He's a bass fisherman. You can reach him at carpenterT@hpw.com. Tell him that the OneCast sent you, and we appreciate you, Uncle Terry. What's up, guys?
What up, man?
Nothing. Just working on my radio talk show host commercial voice for 2027 and beyond. Looks like I'm going to get hired on to be the weatherman. Just kidding. Sucks for you guys. An app can do your job. Just kidding. There was a movie. I can't remember what movie I was watching. It was like, you do realize an app can do your job. No, I'm just kidding. For all the meteorologists out there, we appreciate you guys. It was just, that was some light comedy for you. So
I will say, speaking of the weather, it was kind of crazy this weekend. The Bassmaster Classic, the Bassmaster Classic actually had pretty good weather for it. They had an off day. Their off day, that was the cold, rainy day, pretty much. But it was kind of crazy. We get there, and the day after we get there, there's snow all around us, and the day we leave, that night there's like snow up in Virginia and places, and Asheville and all. So it was just kind of weather's crazy right now in the spring, but the actual Bassmaster Classic had phenomenal weather, probably helped contribute some of those weights, and I'm sure we'll talk about all things classic here in a minute.
Oh,
yeah, I mean,
a lot to talk about.
Well, our if you guys didn't get to see the Bassmaster Classic or go to it, it was in Knoxville, Tennessee this year, where it was in 2023. Jeff Gustafson, first Canadian ever to win a Bassmaster Classic. Won it there. It was his second win in Knoxville on the Tennessee River. So
how did he win that one? What was he doing? I'm just curious.
Because
how the Canadian snow leopard won that one.
The Canadian snow leopard. Yeah, I mean,
he was scoping in the middle of the river.
Oh, that's right, with a smeltinator. Okay, go ahead. You can keep going.
Yeah, that's what he was doing.
He was using Mega Live 1 and one classic. That's right. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Trey. Sorry, I didn't.
No, nothing. For the fans, man. Like if we didn't get to see you there, it sucks that we missed you, but hopefully you had a good time. For those who showed up, Pete Dubs, my buddy Clayton out of Indiana, Tim from down in Florida, Lake Seminole area. I know I'm going to be missing a bunch, but, we appreciate you guys swinging by the OneCast Fishing booth. It means a lot to us. Nick Kincaid and Mikey Nadeau with Special Operations Bass Anglers. It was cool to hang out with you guys. And, man, it's just a good time. All of our friends over at Hobie Eyewear, we talk about like the Raleigh Fishing Show, the Fayetteville Fishing Show, the Greenville Fishing Show, all these different fishing shows, but there really is nothing like the Bassmaster Classic. Although none of us have ever fished it, and we probably wish we were, it really is a cool experience being inside the expo, seeing all the vendors, and just getting the ability to interact with all the people is really cool. So just wanted to say a huge thank you for the amount of support that people came over and provided us in the great conversation. And I have to say one thing about the expo this year. Knoxville, whatever you do, if it comes back to you, keep those hot ham and cheese sandwiches on a pretzel bun, because those things were off the chain. I ate 2 of those, one each day of the 3 days, and man, those things were fire. So outside of that, I'm going to kick it over to Ben and Pete. If you guys want to, Pete really got outside of the expo full experience, man. So kind of talk about. I don't know. Do you want to talk about what you did, or do you want to talk about how it was won first?
No, because that's going to turn into a whole thing. So we'll talk about that as we get through the experience. So, yeah, we went for the first time and signed up as media. The podcast has been around for a few years. We've been to a classic while we had it, but we didn't do the whole media thing. I can promise you I will moving forward do the media. For anyone that I'm not fishing. Of course, I'm going to fish all the rest of them because I'm so awesome. They decide they're just going to automatically invite me. So look out for that. No. Yeah. So unless I have sponsor obligations, if I end up jumping in the opens or something, I'm going to media every single one, because it's really gives you a whole different appreciation for, the different outside forces that the anglers face. It's not enough to deal with the weather, but you're dealing with an off day from practice that you're not used to. That day's filled with media, interviews, and then fan fest where all the fans get to come and talk to you. And so it just, it kind of takes you away from it. And, one thing I found interesting is a good mix at the media day of some anglers were rigging tackle and some weren't. Some of the anglers you talked to felt that it was, not the best look to be rigging while folks are there to meet you and interview you, and others were like, yeah, I got to get ready. So it is what it is. So it was just interesting to see different people's thought process. We got to talk to 4 different anglers. I got interviews we didn't get out before the start of the classic because we had some technical difficulties with transferring those and things. So we're going to release those. We're putting like a montage together that our new AV expert, my wife, is working on editing now. She does a great job. So we'll have some really cool stuff coming from that. But media day, we got to check in. We got to hang out with the anglers at the boats. We got to interview them. Got to catch up with friends that fish. So that was really good. They gave us a free lunch, some barbecue, which was pretty good. Knoxville came out and talked about the classic previously, shared some numbers, which I thought was really awesome. The amount of money that interjects into the local economy. It's pretty incredible. So definitely looking, and I don't see I haven't seen them drop the statistics from this one yet. I was just looking as far as people through the door and such. That usually takes a couple of days. Knoxville did hold the record. 160,000 people was the record coming through the expo and weigh-in last time they were there. So I'm curious to see what those numbers were. I felt like it probably lines up pretty close to that. packed house for weigh-ins, lots of folks in the expo. So yeah, I mean, the first day we did that whole media thing, then we hung out. Oh no, we didn't hang out. Day 2, we did media ride-alongs. So I rode along, acted as a marshal, and also got a bunch of really cool pictures. Spent the day on the water with John Cruz, who struggled a little bit the first day. You know, that rain had come through and kind of blew out the stuff he had found, and he had spent a lot of time on one particular part of the river. You know, so getting to see his thought process, and he ended up with 2 that day, caught one pretty good one, and figured a little something out at the end of the day, and was able to go put a decent bag together day 2, which moved him up and got him a little bit better. Didn't get a little bit better paycheck, because I think after 25th it's all 10,000, but still moved him up a little bit in the standings and probably brought some of that confidence back. But super cool experience. My wife did one, got a bunch of pictures she rode with Tyler Williams. So we'll put some of those pictures and stuff together and make some posts with what we got, talking about that experience. So that was super cool, getting there in the morning, getting to go through all the boat checks, going out, blast off, Mercer calling the name out, seeing the classic crowd up there cheering as everybody comes through. It's you know, I've marshaled in regular Elite Series events, completely different. You can feel the angst and the kind of heightened stress levels of the anglers as they're getting ready to roll, because of just how much that tournament means to everybody. So it's a palpable thing. It's not like a regular Elite Series event. If you've ever been to one, it's a very different feel. Just in anglers in the morning, a lot less of the typical joking and back and forth. A lot of guys are a lot more serious. You know, and then so we did that. Then we hung out at the expo day 2.
Can I ask you some questions about the like, you got to spend the whole day, you know, you hear a lot of times anglers talk about, like, hey, you know, the pressure is really winning the classic and doing well for, you know, my family or whatever. There's no pressure on the line for points, so they don't have to worry about that. They know they're only competing against, you know, mid 50 boat range, you know, 54, 55, 52, whatever it is, boats. So with that being said, with no points on the line, but obviously a different amount of pressure being the classic itself, and your previous experiences, you know, marshaling with like Ike and Ellie and such, talk to the audience about like the mental aspect of what you witnessed. And it doesn't have to be, you know, John Cruz or anything like that. I mean, I know that's who you rode with, but like, did you notice a difference in like the mental part of you know, the game when you're out there on the water?
Yeah, for sure there's a different thought process, and I could see it with John, and him and I spoke to it that day as we were out there. You know, he was in an area where he had good fish. Like, some of what he saw in practice was enough to put him up there in the top 10. I don't know if it would have been enough to win, but he knew he got the bites and found the fish to be up there. It got blown out by the mud, which those fish didn't leave. He knew those fish were still there. So he stayed in that area and tried to figure out how to get them to eat, right? Whereas in a regular tournament, I promise you, we would have been picking up and running to Tellico and cleaner water, where he knew he could catch 5, even if it was just 5 for 5 pounds, because of points. Points drive mentality in those tournaments. You know, you kind of know, and we know it too, Trey, like when we practice even for local stuff, you know, if you're on fish to win, or if you think you have a shot, and you know if you're on the fish you need to survive and get enough points to keep you in that AOI race. So it kind of drives your thought process a little more. Obviously, the biggest bag is number 1, but if you want to be a really good and really consistent tournament fisherman, then 5 fish is what matters first and foremost. You've got to get 5 fish in the boat, right? You've got to get 5 fish to have a limit. You got to get 5 fish to have good standing in the points. If you catch 5 fish in every tournament you fish and you weigh those fish, you're gonna always do well in AOI. Even if you're consistently towards the middle of the field, it's still gonna bolster you because you're gonna have guys that are up and down that swing for the fence every tournament, which is it's an approach. You know, you can absolutely do that. So that thought process was completely different. I know for a fact, and like I said, we talked about it. If he needed 5 for points to stay alive in AOI and requalifying and all of that. He certainly would have left the area we were fishing, but in the Classic, it doesn't matter. You know, one, you're not getting a check, or you're absolutely getting a check because everybody gets paid, and two, you're, other than winning, there's really no benefit in that tournament. I mean, the higher you finish, I guess, is better for sponsors and things. If you're top 10, obviously it looks good, but that's not a motivating factor, I don't think, in the decision making process, at least not from what I saw or heard from other anglers.
No, you're spot on, man. I mean, you know, one of the things that I've noticed, and I think this kind of relates to the Classic, like you talked about, you got guys, we can use the local Piedmont region here. Ben's very familiar with all the lakes here. Pete and myself fish them all the time. You got guys that'll go out there and they'll win. Like you can almost determine who's going to win prior to the tournament because they have 20 plus years on that body of water. And then you got guys that'll go out there and they'll either really do really, really well and be in contention for winning, or they'll bomb it, right? And then you got guys, and I would say Pete and I are those guys, right? You got guys in the middle. Like there's no guarantee. Like we haven't won one, but we've always maintained that consistency. And there's nothing worse in a regular season event.
That's how you get those plaques right there,
right? I mean, that's really what it boils down to. So, but it plays a different, like it plays a mental role, you know, kind of like, you know, for all you local anglers and stuff that, you know, have your club classics or maybe your championships or whatever, like, you know, that you're going out there and there's one objective, and that's to win, or at least finish high enough to where you capture contingency money if you have a new enough boat and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the points don't really matter. So I definitely see that in the Classic, like you talked about. And then the last question I wanted to ask you, you know, talk about some of the things that you witnessed that, like, maybe the general audience doesn't realize, like, happens to the best of the best top competitors. And you don't have to say anything specifically, but I know we were kind of joking about it back at the house. But, you know, for all of you that think like, you know, anglers don't, top level, high level competitors in the Elite Series don't have those days, just like all of us on the water. They absolutely do. Pete, what are a couple of the things that you witnessed? And you know, John, if you're listening to this, we're not calling you out, but like, it's funny. These are good things to talk about because everybody can relate to these things.
It's refreshing to hear.
It's not just with John. I mean, I saw it with Bob Downey at Murray. I saw it with Ike at Murray. I mean, it's just fishing, and it is a little reassuring as a regular angler, like to go out there and watch them throw into a tree from time to time, or get hung up on rocks, or bird's nest a reel, and you know, break off, and just all the stuff that we do when we're fishing. It's just fishing, and those guys face the exact same things we do, and I think we get this thought in our minds, or this visual in our minds that they don't face those same things because we see them for 45 seconds on a clip on live while they catch a fish, or they're going down a bank casting at a reed line where there's not really any of that stuff. But when you get out there and you're cranking rock and you're throwing around laydowns and you're doing those type of things, you're going to run into the same things that happen when we go out there and do it. So,
right.
You know, it's it was, like I said, it was a bit like watching yourself fish at the front of the boat, you know, little frustrations here and there with things, and, you know, talking to yourself a little bit, you know, when you do something a little bit stupid. So it was, it was refreshing to see it happen again to another pro. Everybody I've been with has had those, you know, those instances. So
I can promise you this, you know, when I see comments on the internet about like, oh, I can't believe they didn't catch 5, or, you know, if they came to my home lake, I would beat them or whatever. Like, listen,
you
guys,
should.
You should beat any of these guys if they're not from your home pond. Like, if you're out there 5 days a week, that's a no-brainer. You should beat anybody if you're dialed in. But secondly, like, just like Pete said, like, fishing for 5 fish is so much harder than most people can even fathom.
Yeah,
like,
and you got to remember, like, that's the mentality of these guys in every tournament they fish, is to catch 5. And every tournament that somebody wins, they landed on something where the 5 that they were catching just happened to be the 5 biggest. You don't see, and this isn't a knock on like Milliken, because I really like the guy, enjoy his content. He's great at catching big fish, but you can't just go out and target those big fish. He knew he had to go out and catch 5, and you don't always land on 5 big ones.
Right.
Or 15 big ones or 20 big ones, depending on how many days the tournament is. So that you should beat them when they come to your home lake. Because if you're fishing against them on your home lake at a one-day derby, you're going to go run your best stuff and try to catch the biggest bag you can catch. And while they want to do that, that mentality of just going out and catching 5, on a new body of water is a little bit different. So it's it's a whole different approach.
I put my money on the pros though against the local in a 4-day tournament.
I promise you they're going to beat you in a 4-day tournament, because I can tell you that pretty much everybody who fish again has no idea how to manage fish.
Right.
They're going to go out and whack them on their juice day 1, and then they're going to be out of fish, and then they're going to be struggling running around trying to catch 5. And that angler, in theory, each day is going to figure something out a little bit better, or what they can do to get a bigger bite.
Yep. The locals that usually win, and we've seen this with our guys, and I would say we fish against some of the best anglers in Central North Carolina, hands down. The guys that are not only fishing locally that take your money, but they're also fishing nationally, or they're fishing regionally. Those anglers are built different when it comes to practice, right? Versus the guys that go out there and sore lip their juice spots. A lot of the things that you notice out of the local anglers that fish nationally, or maybe did fish nationally but aren't fishing it again, is they won't even touch that stuff. Like, they won't go out there the Friday before a Saturday tournament, if there's a no off limits period, and touch any of that stuff, because they have so much experience on that body of water that they know that they can pull up there, and they're fishing for 5 to 7 bites a day, depending on the time of the year. And I think that's where the pros, man, like that's such a pro move at the end of the day. Like, that's such a pro move to say, I know where the fish are, I'm not going to touch them. And the pros that are at the national level tour, their ability to adjust is so much better, because they've seen conditions. It doesn't really matter a lot of times what body of water they're on. They're like, cold, muddy, got to change, right? Unless it's a classic. The classic's a different breed, because there's no points
that's
on
the
line.
aberrant. Yeah, that's the anomaly in their tournament lives.
Correct.
Yep.
But like Pete said, if it would have been a regular season Elite Series tournament event, that trolling motor would have been pulled up probably after about 20, 30 minutes, and they would have been gone.
I don't even know if we would have started. I think he would have come down off pad and been like, "Yeah, this ain't the stuff. We need to make a move."
Yeah. So
we were talking about it at the house, like some of that mud. I mean, that water. If you roll up there, that some of that stuff was chocolate milk. I guess we should probably talk about just overall the classic and the conditions. I think Pete, with you talking, you had a lot of interviews. A lot of folks had a very good practice. Thought like they could get 20-pound bags so long as the weather cooperated. The fish were much further along and much more shallow than it was 3 years ago, which is a bit strange in the sense that the classic 3 years ago in Knoxville, when Gussie won it out there right in the middle in those almost winter conditions, it seemed like, was at the end of March. It was like the 24th through the 26th of March, and this was 2 weeks earlier. And of course, this part of the country had such a I don't know how much snow Knoxville got, but it got dumped on this year, just like the rest of the Southeast did, I'm sure. So, but it's just, the 2 weeks prior, a bunch of warm weather. It's always getting about that time. And these fish were much more shallow along. And additionally, this year, the smallmouth limit was less. So, in 2023, all smallmouth had to be 18 inches. So typically that's probably about 2.5, 3 pound smallmouth, depending on how big they are, how fat they are. But this year they could be 15 inches. So that probably played into a lot of anglers' calculations.
Yep.
But we saw people practicing and catching, and practice all over, up the river and stuff, and down in kind of the lake systems and Loudon and Tellico. That's ultimately where it got one out. But I think it was setting up, it was still enough to be in a phenomenal tournament. I still think it was a phenomenal tournament because I don't know what we predicted on our prediction show or even before, but I thought, 16, 17 pounds a day would probably win this thing. And that was not happening. It took a lot more than that. So the lake's showing out. Guys were catching them shallow. They were still catching good fish shallow, but it obviously wasn't the winning bite this time, this time around.
Yep. Yeah, the guys in practice really felt like that shallow bite was going to dominate, and when the conditions changed, water dirtied up, it really hurt most of those shallow bites that they had found.
And for those who weren't paying that close attention, what happened is on their off day, that would have been
it was Wednesday night and Thursday morning.
Night. So because we got there Wednesday and started setting up for the expo Wednesday night. But about Wednesday night, it rained about an inch or two. I mean, that rain was going sideways, windy, and it was and the cold front came through. And then the next day was only like 50. So kind of one day cold front, bunch of cold rain came down hard and fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we noticed watching live is that the water levels dropped on the river system. So because of all that rain, they were dumping water out, and so it was pulling water. So it was just pulling all that mud and stuff down that much faster. Mm-hmm. So a lot of places got blown out because of that. So that was a change of conditions from practice going in the tournament, and then that's why some guys were affected depending on what their strategy was.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for any of the anglers listening to the show right now, that's, these are the kinds of things that I take a huge mental note of, especially if I ever face those types of conditions. I've never fished the Tennessee River before. But, there's so many factors to pay attention to. And where some of the guys were fishing, they were far enough away from that mud to where it didn't affect them day one and day two, but you could start to see that stuff. And there's something to think about with those types of things. You can actually, depending on the system, if you have enough experience, you might be able to run up past that mud and get to cleaner water too, as well. But there were so many things that were happening at the same time that, that's where the top 10 come into play after day two. And those guys were able to, I think the winner, Dylan Nutt, congratulations to him. He was able to still kind of hold out in his area, if I'm not mistaken, and he was still able to catch him. But we could see that on live, like you were talking about, Ben. We could start to see that water turning, but I think they were far enough down that river to where they were, able to still continue to catch them in that relatively stained water.
Yeah, Dylan and Trey, they were all kind of Trey, or there's 5 or 6 anglers probably within. I think that the Bassmaster, the live cast made it seem like they were a lot closer to each other, the way they talked when they put them on the map. I don't think they were like, because of all the turns in the river and the islands, I don't think a lot of people could see each other, but they were all kind of down in the general, I think, Tellico area. And, we were debating whether or not how fast that mud would get down there. And of course, there's other tributaries and stuff in. I was actually surprised it held up as well as it did down there. Mm-hmm. Because they kept pulling water. So
yeah, it was very stained by day. Last day of the tournament. So probably the day after that, she was pretty blowed out, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we saw the weather even after the day after the Classic when we were driving home was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Like high 40+ mile an hour winds, tornado conditions in certain areas. Like it was raining in certain, even though they got a cold front and it sucked, thank goodness they didn't go one day longer, because they probably would have not had a very good day if they would even let them launch. So that's cool, man. You got to spend that day on the water with John Cruz. You got to see how, he made decisions. You got to see how he made some of the, same errors that a lot of us average anglers make with backlashing and casting in trees and stuff like that. Is there anything you want to point out about anything after the fact with media day and stuff before we move into kind of like the tournament itself, or we can talk about the show itself if you want to hit that?
No, yeah, I don't have anything else on that.
Okay.
Let's because we kind of drifted in the tournament. but I know we want to get in and talk about Dylan, talk about how he did it, some of the reaction to it. So let's just go through the expo real fast.
Yeah. What's
so,
up, man?
The expo, great. For everyone listening out there, if we met several of you for the first time, I believe, several for the second, third, maybe fourth time. So it's always great to meet folks out there that support us, whether it's here through the podcast or with the lure company and OneCast Fishing. It's old friends, new friends, just talking fishing, sharing stories. It's always a great time, even if for us it could be long and exhausting 3 days. But it's always a great and rewarding time, and it always gets me re-energized to get back out in the water when I have to sit in there and talk about fishing. I'm not fishing, but it was a great show. Looking forward to doing it again next year.
Yeah, I do want to point out something. It was a fantastic show, and it is absolutely exhausting, but for the right reasons. And that's because look, I know pro, everybody knows that, but Ben and OneCast Fishing is my title sponsor this year, and it's an obligation for the anglers that are sponsored by these companies to get out there and converse with the audience and talk to the crowd and talk to the customers or whatever you want, anybody. And I'm just generalizing this because one of the things that I think a lot of, I had a group of anglers come up at the show and talk about like wanting to fish a national level tour, wanting to get sponsorships. What's the best way of going about that? All these types of things. And it was pretty easy to point out what not to do. Right. And that was, and I'm not casting any shade on anybody, but look, your job, if you want to get sponsored by somebody, 99% of that job, it has nothing to do with fishing. It has nothing to do with tournament fishing. It doesn't matter if you finish 250th place every single time. Maybe to some sponsors it does, but to most that look at it from a business perspective and return on investment and putting a face, to the brand and all this stuff. If you're an angler out there that is seeking partnership, sponsorship, collaboration and stuff like that, and you're working a booth, your job is to work the booth. Your job is to engage with the audience. Your job is to sell product and to promote and do all those things that somebody is paying for you to do. And, a good buddy of ours stayed with us in the house, and he was working a different booth. And, he wasn't there. He was there on his own dime. He wasn't getting paid by that sponsor. I mean, he has a deal with them, but he wasn't getting paid to be there. They weren't paying for his meals. They weren't doing any of that stuff. And he outperformed all of the high level anglers there. And I would say that, for those young anglers or not even young, like my age, if you're looking to get into the business of doing this, man, put the work in, right? Invest some sweat equity in that stuff, because that's a really important thing. And the Bassmaster Classic, unlike the other fishing shows, are they're important, dude. They really are. But the Classic is where everybody's at. The Classic is where the eyes are at. That's where the cameras are at. The influencers are at. The big companies like the CEOs and the COOs and the CVOs and CFOs, all those people, they're there. They want to see that kind of stuff. And they want to see, even if their angler didn't qualify for the Classic, those anglers are at the Classic working the Classic. You know what I mean? And so it's very important for you to continue, like, maintain that professional image, be a steward of the profession. And that's going to go a long way, especially if you're trying to, I don't know, ask somebody for $8, $16, $20, $30, $40,000 a year. Like, it's a pretty important deal. So I just wanted to highlight that. I kept it vague with our buddy that I'm talking about, because everybody knows who it is, but I don't want to say the name specifically. But that side of the Classic is what most people don't talk about. They don't talk about the interactions. And look, man, like, to me, that is the most important thing about the expo, is promotion and putting a face behind the brand. So just wanted to throw that out there for any of you anglers that are thinking about fishing the national tour and you're working fishing shows. Help the company grow.
100%. Yeah. I mean, and Trey is spot on. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do that. And if you're an angler and you go out there and you win every single time,
that works.
I mean, that works. That's you're KVD 2.0 kind of deal. Like you got to be the 1% of the 1%.
Right.
Most of I would venture to say most of the people out there are not that person.
Right.
Not him. So you got to find the way you can do that.
Yeah.
Some guys do it on social media and are really good there.
Yeah.
A lot of people try, but they're crap at it.
Yeah.
And it shows. But right, there's always something you can be good at. Like maybe right, you got the gift of gab, and you're great at these trade shows, or you have relationships with businesses where you can get them a tackle in different stores, and there's just a lot of different ways that you can go about that and help a company grow.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta do what suits you, and sometimes you can think outside the box, but
and the cool thing is, like I got to witness this. I'll say this, and then we can talk about the elephant in the room, which is how the Classic was won and stuff like that. Got to witness a pretty cool deal. Certain anglers going up certain booths, and there was a handful of people to be in line to meet them, right? And these anglers have never won an event at the national level, or maybe they won one, but it was like 5-8 years ago, right? But because said angler runs a YouTube series that gets thousands and thousands of people watching, it attracted people to the booth. Same thing with our podcast. We had numerous people come up that watch or listen to our podcast, which is sponsored by OneCast Fishing. So for those of you who listen to the OneCast, it's sponsored by OneCast Fishing. So a lot of people came up. So we got a podcast. That's something unique, right? Other people have YouTube channels. That's unique-ish, right? Everybody's got podcasts. Everybody's got a YouTube channel. But then there are other anglers that I literally watched that have won or have been in the top 10 numerous times, and there ain't nobody in line to get an autograph from them. And maybe because of certain things. And I won't point those things out. But just understand that if you do have the gift of gab, like Ben was talking about, or you do have a YouTube channel, or you do have this or podcast, like, man, it's your duty to get out there and have fun with the crowd. They want that, man. They don't get to meet you in person. There was a guy that drove down from Indiana, who we have been Instagram friends since 2017. It was the first time I got to meet him. And he came directly to our booth, and he bought a bunch of OneCast Fishing stuff, and he brought his cousin, and he wanted me to educate him on the difference with lines and the difference of knots and stuff like that, where and when to use these types of jigs in these types of situations. That is the coolest thing ever. That is so fun for me to talk and educate a future or a current angler that is looking to grow and master their craft. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, right? So
100%.
Anyways.
That was an awesome story. And I got to share my cool story about that picture, man, because this is like talking about how fishing is a small world. So, for those who have seen the OneCast Fishing booth, I got these canvas photos that either show the product or different fish catches. And one of them is two guys fishing out on, I thought it was potholes, but it's actually, I think, Mosley, which is right next to potholes, out of Washington State, holding up about 5, I don't know how big the bag is.
Smallmouth.
Giant smallmouth. And they were caught in the weedless net.
Yeah.
The guy comes up. He's like, that's me in the photo. And I do a double take because in the photo, he's got a beard, but he didn't have the beard here. So ultimately, the story was, so that picture was sent to me by one of my OG pro staffers that I probably from back like 2018, or maybe, yeah, probably not that early, but 2019 or something like that. But Adam, he was an OG pro sponsor, and he had been fishing those nets, and he that was them out there that day. And so his partner was Jordan, and that's the one who came up. He's like, that was in the photo. He's like, I never thought I'd be at the Bassmaster Classic in Tennessee, and my photo would be up in some bait booth holding up fish. So that was a cool story of a small world, and it was just them for
that was awesome. Yeah. That photo alone caught so many people's attention because like bass fishing, competitive bass fishing it really is like really largemouth centric. But the amount of northern anglers that came down. The amount of smallmouth fishermen and the amount of northern anglers that came down to Knoxville was astounding. Even, Pete's dad was there, and we got to give a shout out to Papa Pete. We call him Pete Senior, or Papa Pete is what I call him. He came down to bust his hump. The guy can sell. I mean, he's got the gift of gab too, and he's a Lake Erie pro. Just knows how to get after them, and so it was cool having him down. But the amount of northern anglers, and that's a really cool thing too, is being able to break the ice, like talking smallies and stuff like that. Because a lot of times our stuff is so focused towards like catching greenheads, catching largemouth and stuff. But that was really cool. So yeah, man, we had some really cool personal stories. Pete Dubs, I think I shouted him out already, but yeah, man, coming by and doing all that stuff. So do you guys want to talk about the elephant in the room?
No, I think we talk about final. If we went to final weigh-in media, so we had really cool seats.
Yeah, do that.
Got to see the final 25 that fished the last day all weigh in. They get down to the end. Trevor caught him really well. Was sitting in that hot seat, so finished. Shot to either win it again or finish bridesmaid again.
Who was it?
Trey McKinney. Did I say
Trey
Trevor?
McKinney. Yeah.
I was
He
thinking.
must
I
have been
was
talking to our friend Trevor.
I was reading. Somebody was. We'll talk about it in a minute. So Trey McKinney was in second, sitting in that hot seat again, and had a good bag, 22-pound bag. I think he caught. So good bag. Put a little pressure on Dylan, but I mean Dylan went out there and cracked another 20, so he still won by 9 pounds and some change. Getting to see him raise that trophy. And talk about how much it meant coming through Nation. Again, second angler to ever do it in 56 years. Second non-professional angler to ever do it in 56 years, considered an amateur, qualified through the Bass Nation Series at 22 years old because he knows how to catch fish. Won a super regional with no forward facing against 80 dudes that have been doing it forever, but doesn't know how to catch it without a box. But yeah, he went out there and dropped 20, won it. Got to see that. Got to see the family come up. He's got a twin brother, Carter Nutt, who won the Bassmaster College Classic the day before. So clean sweep for the Nutt family. And his brother was the first one on the stage and was bawling his eyes out. If you go, I think Sim's got a picture. We've got some photos I decided not to share. I knew somebody would, but I didn't want to put it out there because I know how the internet is. But this kid was absolutely elated for his twin brother to have just accomplished what I'm sure has been their dream forever, to fish in and win the classic. Family does their thing. They get in the boat and they do the victory tour with the flag. Chelsea and I, we're going to beat feet and try to get back to the media room to do the interviews and stuff. And we ended up, I think, somewhere we probably weren't supposed to be. Just walked with confidence. And as the Nutt family in Dylan's boat were pulled out of the arena, they were right in front of us, and we were there with about 7 BASS photographers and a couple sponsor photographers of his. So we got to see a really special moment with the family and the trophy and take some really amazing photos, and seeing Carter tell his brother how proud he was of him for what he accomplished was awesome, man. And it really just showed, like, to me, the family that he came from, the way he was raised, giving all the glory to God. But he did say something on the stage, and I quoted it in a post that I made on Facebook that I wasn't going to make. I didn't want to make. But I kept seeing so much crap that I felt like I needed to, because we have a few followers, obviously, and we know a lot of people. So, I just wanted to call out that. But Dylan, when he was on stage and it was, oh my goodness, brain fart. Mercer, made a comment about, you came out here and competed against the best of the world and won. And, Carter said, or Dylan said, yeah, I came out here and fished against the best in the world and I took it from him. And that was, some people, I quoted that. There was a couple people that are like, oh yeah, he really showed how humble he is. But I mean, man, you're 22 years old and you just beat some legends in the sport, guys that have been around, young guns, and you beat them at their own game as an amateur. Granted, he's been doing this for a long time. He's got a lot of experience, spent a lot of time on the water. But just to be able in that moment to realize, like, yeah, I came out here and I sort of stole this trophy. Everybody would have said, I don't deserve it. I don't belong here. I'm too young. And here I am at the end of the day, the last man standing. So we got some really cool pictures of that moment. Yep.
Pete, and I want to clarify this. When you say amateur, this Dylan qualified through the Bass Nations. He was a club angler.
Yeah, he fished a BASS club just like every single one of us has in the past.
You can fish a Bass Club or go to your state, just open Bass Nation tournaments as a Bass Club member.
Yep.
And go win the Bassmaster Classic.
Through Tennessee Bass Nation, man. You know, there were some sticks he was fishing against on those Tennessee River Valley lakes and stuff. So he I don't know if he won the national championship, but the top 3
he was third
in the nation championship get a berth. So he was the third best amateur according to the Bass Nation to qualify, right? And he won it. And it was just really special moment to see the family kind of quietly celebrating. His dad was mom and dad were there and siblings. So it was really cool. Got some great pictures, and we were going to go into the media room after that. But I was like, you know what? I think I've saw what I want to see. We don't need to go in here and listen to these guys talk about this. But started shaking the olive branches. So we'll get Dylan and Carter on the show eventually to talk about everything they've just gone through. I got to change that kid's life in 3 days of fishing. So pretty incredible stuff. And he automatically qualifies for the elite. So we'll see what he can do. I think he's a kid. I think you'll see his brother there one day too. The kids are good, man.
I want to ask this question, and nobody needs to answer it, but if it's your child out there that just did this, would you want everyone else hating on them? Right? If it was your child out there, would you be not the most proud parent in the world that your kid just accomplished something that thousands of anglers have never been able to accomplish? And I'd say, yeah, you'd be proud of them. And that goes for the same people that are casting the shade on anybody that does anything in this world of greatness. Why hate, right? Why hate on it? It makes zero sense to me. And it goes back to what Ben and Pete and I've always talked about in the professional angling world is you promoting growing the sport, but you're pissed off that the sport's growing. That don't make no sense to me, right? It's our job to promote the sport of bass fishing because we know how much it can help people out, get them out on the water, connect with nature, connect with themselves and friends and family and faith and all these things. And then when somebody comes in and just dominates because we grew the sport, you're mad about it. Don't be mad about it. You know what I mean? Like the kid went out and did something amazing, just like Gussie did in 2023, damn near the similar way. No one, I mean, and Ben talked about it. There was some people that were mad at that, but there's always going to be those haters out there. And so for all your haters, you know what? Suck it up, dude, because he laid these. I'd say I'm not going to say it, but there's some really funny comments because of his last name and stuff. And it just pairs well with a lot of great phrases and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it was awesome to see. And man, you're absolutely right, Pete, man. What an emotional moment. I mean, like I can picture, my son, definitely not going to be out there bass fishing, but he might hack into some sort of network and just take all that other country's money. And I'm going to be so proud of him when he does it. Just kidding. But it was super cool, man.
Waypoints for us.
Yeah. He might absolutely be able to do that. Who knows? But, and the way he was catching them, man, a lot of guys like, oh, he's catching them on a minnow. You know what? So was a lot of other people. Okay. If it would have been, I don't know, let's just throw this out there. One of the household names that caught him on a minnow, would you be that mad? Right. So wait,
they were there in 2023 and Jeff Gustafson won. How'd he win that again? What was he
on
doing?
a minnow? Right.
Oh, yeah,
it was a minnow.
Right. Yeah.
It was cool, man. I was actually, we didn't get we were working. That was our job was to work there, but we got to kind of watch it, guys, me and Ben and your dad and stuff were kind of getting on Bass Track and looking at stuff and then catching some replay clips and stuff like that. Fothergill, man, he had a shot. I was like, wow, Fothergill might go back to back on this stuff. The cool thing about Fothergill, man, he put that Carolina rig to work. That was really cool to see. So, you had jerk baits playing a role. You had jig head, minnows playing a role. You had Carolina rigs playing a role. Some guys were catching them shallow, on bladed jigs and stuff like that. So, and swim baits. There was a lot of diversity in the Classic this year, but I was really impressed with Fothergill, especially with those windy conditions, getting out there chucking a big old Carolina rig with a minnow on the back of it, which, you know, all y'all take note of that because it absolutely does work. And obviously we know the jig head minnow works all the time. So, but it was cool to see the diversity and how the guys were catching them and stuff like that. But yeah, man, congratulations to Dylan Nutt. Congratulations to Carter Nutt. And that family just, man, they solidified a spot here in Bassmaster for sure.
Yep. My turn now.
Yeah, your turn. Go.
Yeah. So if you're one of these, like, and somebody, I think it was high class Bassmaster memes, put out a post and put a bunch of these mouth breathers faces on a post that have been making these comments about forward facing sonar, and it's beautiful because they all look exactly the same. If you're one of these people that are literally batching this kid for going out and competing within the rules and winning, then I don't know, go ask your mom for a hug, or, you know, there's a lot of other things I could say. I'm going to be nice, but maybe you just need a hug, because you're ignorant, like just straight up ignorant to bash a 22-year-old kid who went out there and did everything he could to compete within the rules, spent more time on the water before the tournament to figure out what the fish were doing, located fish. I see the argument that they can't find fish. This kid found bigger and better fish than anybody else found, evidenced by his 66 pounds, and he did it without just driving around with a trolling motor because they were all over Teleco. It's not like he rolled up into one pocket and looked and there was 66 pounds of fish laying in there and he went and caught them all. No, he went to pre-spawn staging areas, found fish, and went and caught those fish in the tournament. And then when those fish weren't there, he knew, because he knows fish patterns, because we all can figure that out. Watch a YouTube video. He knew that those fish would start to roam some, and he went and started looking for roamers on some of those banks. Guess what he didn't have to do? He didn't have to make 140,000 casts with a lipless crankbait or a shallow crankbait on those rock ledges to try to find one to bite, because he could locate one. Take that for what it's worth. If you don't like it, I get it. Me personally, I would rather watch a Classic like this that got one with 66 pounds caught on a minnow instead of what it would have been without it, where somebody would have won with about, I don't know, 22 pounds and would have had 3 fish a day because everybody was trying to grind 5 in muddy water and had trouble finding these bigger fish. So I think y'all need to grow up a little bit. You keep talking about how you're experienced and old, but it's not showing. And I think Brandon Polunick probably made the best post of all of this, and he's been pretty quiet through the last few years, but he said, if you want to build the biggest building in town, don't go around tearing others down. Pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. And to Trey and Ben talked about a little bit, and I just want to make the point, like we've been hearing for years. I've been a bass fishing fan, watched professional bass fishing, read the magazines, everything since I was, as long as I can remember. I fished a Bassmaster Classic when I was 5 years old every time I went to the pond and was chucking out there and fishing, right? And all we've heard for all of these years is if we don't get youth in the sport, it's going to die. We don't get youth in the sport, it's going to die. They're here, boys, and they're here to take all of our lunch money. So you better figure out how to compete or you ain't going to be around. We got the kids into the sport. We found a way to get them engaged. They're not out here doing drugs and robbing places and chasing women.
The Bassmaster youth programs that's been going on, what, for now? 15
10, I think 10 to 15 really strong years with the Bassmaster.
Yeah, because you had college started before like high school and stuff.
College is probably in that 20-year range looking back. When did Jordan Lee win his Classics? That was 17.
No, it was like 2000.
I thought it was.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, he won it right out of college, right?
He won it while still in college, I thought, right out.
No, he was graduated. So Carter's the first one to ever win it while still in college. Another thing he did.
2017.
2017. Right? So just about 10 years ago. So yeah, it's been around for probably 15 years in college, high school, maybe 20 years in college. The high school series came around after that. Now we've got middle school. We've got youth programs. These kids are learning how to tournament fish at younger and younger ages.
Dude.
And they aren't all doing it with mommy and daddy's money. Like the kids are here.
It's been 10 years, 11 years since like the YouTube fishing revolution.
Yeah. You know what I love? You know what I love? You got guys like Walters, right? Patrick Walters, who came up fishing collegiately, and has absolutely spanked them in the elites, spanked them in the MPFL. By the way, no forward-facing sonar in the MPFL.
How do you win an AOI without it? It's the only way you can catch them. How did he catch consistently?
It's just and listen, Pete and I have, it sucks when you lose to somebody that can dominate that butt on forward-facing sonar. That happened to us last year. We got beat by a couple young anglers that knew how to catch them using that technology better than we did. We also made the choice not to use it. That's on us. That is not on them. It sucks to lose to them, but that's not on them. That's on us, right? So if it's allowed, because look, Zach Burge is one of the best anglers in the country, bar none, right now.
He might be the best angler.
He might be the best angler, right? All around versatile angler. Patrick Walters is right there, and there's a handful of others. Zach Burge, I don't ever see anyone hating on Zach, probably because he would pile drive them, but nevertheless, like, he is a darn good angler. He knows how to utilize the technology in the 3 hours he's allotted to do it in the BPT, but he also goes over the MPFL and he never misses a check. I mean, like, the guy literally fishes 2 of the 3 days of a tournament and still cashes a check, right? Mm-hmm. These guys are so good that if you're hating on them, you're hating on yourself. That's really what you're mad at. You're mad at yourself for not doing better. And the only way to do that is spend 340 plus days on the water, which is not obviously feasible for everyone else. But that's the way these guys are. These guys that go into the NFL, like, they're going to combines, man. They're doing 2-3 days worth of practice. They're working their butts off. It's no different than those guys trying to jump in the professional league of their sport. Like, these kids are doing the exact same thing in fishing, and
it just cracks me up. We celebrate young people's success in every other sport. When a young quarterback comes in and dominates a league, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady was a little bit older when he started, but still came in the league as a younger guy. Like, these guys came in and dominated, and it was celebrated. Oh, we got this young guy that's a stud. But when a young guy fishing comes in and dominates because he knows how to find the fish, he has technology to help him get him to bite. Maybe it doesn't help me get him to bite. I can tell you that much.
That all becomes, I think, everyone views fishing like
it should be an old guy sport. They don't want to see a bunch of old men out there in butt seats throwing at the bank. That's what I feel. And don't get me wrong, I love the legends, man. They've taught us all a ton. We've all learned from them. But times changing, like, everything changes. We never thought. What's the argument against the Second Amendment? Like, it was written when we had muskets. They never thought we were going to have semi-automatic rifles. You're right, they didn't. But guess what? Technology evolves. It evolves in the way we war each other. It evolves in fishing. It's evolved in hunting. And some of the other great arguments I've seen is, I guarantee you all these anti-forward facing dudes got cell phone trail cameras or on their deer feeders, so they know when the deer are coming and what's coming.
But let me put it like this, and I also think, like, it's still a new sport, but, like, a lot of these OGs, when they were running, they were not old.
People forget that.
They were young.
I mean, of course, the sport was younger, but, like, Klun won his first classic when he was 30 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, and there was no college.
KVD, right? Man.
I mean, it's just like,
yeah,
it is. It's just the way it is. Like,
Jacob Wheeler was young. Jordan Lee was young. KVD was young. Dustin Connell was young. Like, all these guys were young at one point in time. I just think the sport has grown so much, and maybe this is a byproduct of the sport being so big, is no matter what sport it is, no matter what it is, it could be the chicken world that my wife deals with. It could be anything. It could be it does not matter. There's always going to be haters in the sport of bass fishing. They just tend to be the loudest people in the room. And so you got to address those people, right? Yeah, just because you're the loudest person in the room doesn't make you right. Right. And our opinions don't make us right either. Right. It's just opinions. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I think I think we could safely say with all of our awesome fans and audience that follow us, like, whether they use the technology or not, you got to give them the credit they deserve, man. They were out there busting their humps harder than everybody else, and they took home the victory. Hard work results in high reward. That's just what it is.
Yep, and they worked hard. They've earned what they've got. And if you're hating on these kids for doing well, then shut up. I don't know, just shut up. Quit being jealous. I saw somebody make an argument today, like on that post, and I went through and deleted a bunch of really ignorant, like swearing, cussing stuff. But somebody made the argument because I put in there, these kids are out there. They're not hunting in the off season. They're not chasing women. They're not out partying. They're fishing because that's what they want to do. They want to be the best at fishing, right? And some guy said, what did he say? Like, oh, not hunting, not partying, not chasing women, and not looking for a job that you actually have to work at. Like, all right, just tell me you're jealous that this kid's going to make a living fishing because he's good at the sport, and he's a really mature kid for 22 years old. If you hear him talk, he's very well spoken. And obviously the sponsors that are supporting him now and are going to come now that he's done this or see that he's beneficial and able to speak well to the product. Like,
asinine comment ever.
Oh, I know. I read it and just laughed. Like, really?
Is to fish for a living, and the kid's making it happen.
It's always daddy's money. It's always mommy's money.
I'm jealous. I'm personally jealous of him, but I'm also very proud of what he did for himself. Right? Like, I want to see my son or my daughter do something way better than I ever did, ever. Right? And that is why the youth will always win. And you should be humble enough to understand that, instead of being a 40, 50, 60-year-old man out there griping at some 22-year-old young man and saying, it's pathetic. It's like, no, you're pathetic. Why are you saying this to somebody so young?
Do I wish my dad could have given me $100,000 boat and a $60,000 truck and said, go chase your dream? Absolutely. But that wasn't in the cards for my family. It doesn't mean I'm going to hate on a kid because their family can.
Right.
And I hope if I ever have a kid someday that I can provide that to him.
If your dad could have, I know he would have.
1,000% he would have
been on that boat too. So,
like it's just just jealousy sucks, and I don't know. Go hug your parents or kids or something because you need a hug. Puppy. I'll give you a hug. Hit me up. I'll come give you a hug because that's what you need.
Hey, that's what we do. We're gonna hold up signs at the next classic. Free hugs for all you haters, dude.
Free hugs for all you haters. But no, I mean, other than that, and I hate that we had to have this conversation again because we had it last year when Easton Fothergill won. We're probably going to have it more. I really hope that these kids show out in the derbies this year where forward facing isn't allowed. And if they don't, guess what? They may not this year, but they're going to figure it out. Because if you talk to anybody, I know Trey heard it. I know I heard it from John and a bunch of others. These kids are right now on the Elite Series are working harder than any of the Elite Series guys. They're the first ones at the ramp, and they're the last ones to leave in practice.
Trey McKinney was top 10 at Gunnersville, no forward-facing sonar.
Second in AOI again.
Second in AOI again. So,
And Trey, I truly believe out of all the youth, there's a lot of really good anglers. Is probably the best in that class. And wait and see what he does in 10 years. And don't forget, this is the last thing I'm going to say. You all wanted to ban side imaging and kick Kevin Van Dam out of the league back in the day because he figured it out and he figured out how to catch fish other people couldn't. So if you don't remember those arguments that you all were having as you sit up here and put him on a pedestal, remember, you wanted him banned because he figured out side imaging and down imaging and was whooping all your favorite pros' butts as a young guy. And I say young, I mean he was probably early 30s. So again, we're getting a 10-year speed up on these kids, but there's more information available.
Keep in mind, KVD won his first Bassmaster basically elite tournament, the top 100 when he was 24 years old.
Exactly. But now think about this: these kids aren't going to school like they traditionally do. They're not doing high school, going to a high school. A lot of them are homeschooled. So they're fishing all day, doing their schoolwork at night, benefit of the times. There's more information readily available to all of us to cut down these learning curves. We got the deep dive app that's going to tell you right where the fish are. Make sure you download that and check them out if you don't have it already. You've got all of the YouTube content, right? Everybody's got YouTube content on where the fish are, how to find them. You have the technology, which absolutely is an advantage, but everybody has the technology now. I don't know anybody that doesn't have forward facing and side imaging and all that that's fishing derbies outside
even
of John
Seth
Cox.
Ellis has it.
The only one I know is John Cox don't have it on his boat, but he's
built different.
That dude is absolutely built different than anybody. So they just have tools that we never had. And if I could spend 300 days on the water as a high school kid, because I could go to class at night with my mom or aunt or somebody teaching me, I'd have been right there with them. But I'm telling you right now, like you can't replace that time on the water. So it's I'm excited about the youth injection. I know it's frustrating. I know we all want to see our favorite anglers growing up win.
I think it's a great time for all of. I think it's a great time for all of us, man. Like I didn't get into it as early as you did, Pete. Maybe as early as you did, Ben. But like for me, being in it for the last 10 or so years, like it's amazing to me to see this push and this evolution of the sport and like this youth movement and so it's cool, man. Like, and I get to see it on the opens. Like I love it. Like I have no issues losing to a guy that's 22 years old. I have no issues, right? It's amazing it's astonishing to see. And I'm proud of these kids for going out. I mean, that's hard work, man. It's hard work.
If I get in a derby against kids that are really good offshore, they should take my money. But if we get in a derby where we got to look at them, I'm going to take that kid's money every time because that's where you're experienced. So there's always going to be differences in tournaments. Yeah. And I know, well, Okeechobee was one with forward facing. It was, but those fish weren't really set up shallow yet. They had massive cold fronts coming through. Like you've got to look at when Drew Cook won last year, that site. When did he win on Hartwell?
I think it was
when it was sight fishing. Was that last year or the year before? It was in the last couple of years when forward facing was dominant. Those fish were up, man. Like there's still those opportunities when that shallow bite is the deal, and you can compete if that's not your strong suit. But if you're not taking the time to learn that stuff, you don't really have room to complain. And I get if you don't have it and you don't like it, that's cool. Watch the MPFL. Find a tour locally that doesn't allow it. We've got Five Alive has their regular series where they allow it, and they have a no forward facing, no 360 league here locally, which is super cool. Gives those guys that don't have it, don't want it, and don't want to compete against it somewhere they can go compete. And I think that's the balance. Everybody's saying they're going to ban it. It's coming. It's going away. It's not going anywhere. We've been saying it. You may see some changes and tweaks to the rules. Again, we've seen the 3-hour change with MLF. We've seen the coin flip or every other derby with bass. I think they found a sweet spot, at least on paper. We'll see how the first year with this every other derb goes. MLF seems to be in a really good place with the whole 3-hour thing. So we'll see, but it's not ever going to completely go away. It's here to stay. There may be technologies in the future that build upon it that they do ban. You might have things that give you a significantly unfair advantage, but I'm just saying, like, if you've never fished with it and you can't afford it or don't have it, if you're in Central North Carolina, hit me up and we'll go out and I'll show you how hard it is to catch them with that stupid thing. Because it can be the most frustrating tool, but it can also be a super fun tool when they're on it and you can get them to eat. Like, it's super fun to watch them eat and see that what you're doing is what those fish want. And it's super frustrating when you see them swim up to it and they touch it with their nose, but they don't eat it. And they do that 300 times in a day and they just never eat no matter what you do. And it happens. Like but it's a cool technology that's here to stay. Congratulations, Dylan Nutt. Super proud of you kids for going out there. All the top 10, everybody that competed in the Bassmaster Classic, man, you all lived out our dream. Bass Nation had an awesome showing. I think all 3 of the Bass Nation guys finished in the top 10, which is super cool. In my opinion, I think that's awesome. To see that showing out, to see the second one ever to win out of the nations, win a classic. Brian Kirchhoff was the first. If you don't know his name, you can go back and listen to our story on him. He passed away the year after he won in a plane crash, getting ready for his first elite season, which back then was probably the 100s or the 150s. Going to a sponsor obligation, had a plane crash here in North Carolina. It took his life, unfortunately, but he was the first one to ever win as an amateur through the nations. One here on High Rock in North Carolina, throwing a worm that he found floating on the surface and said, let me try that. And ended up using that color and winning the tournament. He had the fish whistle and everything. So super cool stuff, but congrats to Dylan being the second to ever do that in 56 years. First one in 32 years. I think Kirchhoff won in 93, 92, 93, somewhere in there. So it's 30 some years since that. And we have our second nation. And I think the nation's coming for the elites. I really think right now is a time when we are going to see the amateur pro gap close and guys that are competing at the nation level and and have a chance at the Bassmaster Classic, have a chance to go in there and win, because there's a curve with the technology and the information availability to allow folks to compete at a higher level than maybe they would have 10 years ago. And I think that's a good thing. A lot of you people are going to comment on this somewhere and tell us we're idiots for saying that, but I think it's a good thing to have competition, spread across the league instead of the same 3 guys dominating all the time. Yeah. And that's it. I didn't get on my soapbox too bad, but
Ben, what you got, brother?
I don't have much to add to that. It was a great event. Super happy for Dylan. Can't wait to see what he does over the next. I wish they would actually let him fish the rest of the year. I mean, because he's already qualified for the Classic next year as a winner. I wish they just hey, come on and fish the rest of the I guess 9 remaining event. I mean, 7 remaining events or whatever.
Yep.
Watch him win AOI.
I mean, but for sure, looking forward to see what he does next year on the elites, and just a great event. And I love the weights were much larger than we expected. The Tennessee River was showing out much more than I think I have seen at these events. So, and the weather for us was mostly pretty well, except for those 2 days.
Not too bad. Yeah. Well, I'll close this thing out.
Hold on, before you do, one last thing.
Send
the TBF championships on Pickwick right now. We got a local kid fishing it, Nolan Clark. Weighed a 15-pound bag today. Had a 7-1 smallmouth in his bag. Absolute giant.
Yeah.
So good luck, Nolan. Heck of a fish, man. Hope you do well. And Damon, I gotta come get my A rig, so I'll hit you up, buddy.
Yeah, if you fish against Nolan and his father Damon on Jordan Lake, prepare for potential second place. Those guys are absolute hammers here in the Piedmont region. We got a lot of them. North Carolina grows amazing anglers. The expo, like I said, fantastic event. Thank you guys so much for showing up to OneCast Fishing, checking out our partners at Hobie Eyewear, checking out our friends at the Special Operations Bass Anglers nonprofit deal that was hosted with Waymire. Those are great folks. We'll get them on the show to talk to you guys about trailer stuff. And just appreciate all around Knoxville for hosting the Bassmaster Classic. You guys did a phenomenal job. It was a great venue. Parking sucks, so let's figure that out. But outside of that, thanks everyone for supporting the OneCast and helping us continue to grow a culture of anglers helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.